au bureau, il faut savoir mettre des limites. Dans les plaisanteries, dans le travail même, il faut avoir des barrières en fait, sécuriser son environnement, c'est tout ça, physique et émotionnel.
Tous ces diplômes qui se promènent de partout et que vous devez faire la différence parmi toutes ces personnes, il faut que vous ayez une valeur ajoutée. C'est de cela qu'il s'agit.
Insisting that you must be a logistic officer, then you're missing your dream. You need to look at your CV. After this meeting, come to me, bring your CV, bring your mission statement to me, and let's talk about your branding.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of the Corporate Women in Leadership. I'm so excited today because it's a week after a very exciting moment for us at Fabafric Media Group, moment for us at Fabafric Magazine, and moment for us for corporate women in leadership. It has been a very, very eventful week, and ideally, we were on this platform talking about the new edition of Fabafric Magazine. The new edition of Fabafric Magazine that hit up last week, Friday. It was such a fantastic time. We had a launch all over, and we're trying to share information about, about the magazine, why we've been off the shelf in the last 4 years, and why we are back. And also, we talked about our vision going forward. Before I continue, let me play a little video of our new and sparkling. Right, we're back, right? Fabafric Magazine. For those in the UK, please be aware that the magazine is ready and you can have it by post. Those around the world, the magazine is ready. You can have it by post, but due to the coronavirus, we all know it's going to take a while to get to you because things are a little bit slower. But as the borders opens wider and wider, we're sure we're going to get it to you closer and closer. And just so you know, we're working on the digital platform, which should have been out last week. But of course, because we want you to have a beautiful experience of Fabafric Magazine, we are in no rush. We are in no rush because we want you to have the exact edition or the exact feel and look of Fabafric Magazine as you're going to be having in print. My name is Adeline Sedekamga, founder of Corporate Women in Leadership, founder of Fabafric Media Group. And it's an absolute pleasure to be hosting another edition or another session of Corporate Women in Leadership Forum. We've decided to change from summit to forum because we do understand we're bringing it on a regular basis. We are now every Thursday. So we want to make sure we reduce, not reduce, but we decrease our content, our topics into smaller bits so that you will be able to get them one piece at a time. We noticed that in the past we tried to cover a lot of information at one point, not giving our speakers enough time to really exhaust the topic. So right now we're taking it bit by bit, and today we'll be talking about emotional intelligence. This is a big thing. Sometimes we don't know how important this is. That is why we have on the program today two experts, not expert in emotional intelligence, but expert in business. And if you are an expert in business, you should be an expert in emotional intelligence because this all synchronizes together, isn't it? You have met both ladies on this same platform. And when I looked around and I put this topic out there, Both of them were happy to say, Adeline, I think this is a very important topic and I want to contribute to this. So I'm going to introduce our first speaker. Viola Lewin is the president and co-founder of Ovamba Solution Inc. Ovamba is an award-winning African trade tech company that creates culturally attuned technologies for banks and central banks so that they can serve emerging market SMEs with innovative Sharia compliant trade finance products. Their bank partner innovations combine ERP and CRM with e-commerce logistics services and proprietary algorithms and short-term capitals to drive financial inclusions and promote growth. I can't spell, I can't pronounce. Viola, thank you so much for always making time to come on these programs. I know how busy you are, and I do appreciate, and I do know that you're going to be with us right up to maybe an hour or so, hour 5, hour 10. We're going to see how we can entice you to be an hour 10 or an hour 5. But then you are with us for a whole hour, so we don't want to take that for granted. The next speaker that we're going to be having is Dayo Oladele Lori is a management consultant, business development expert, a learning and development specialist with expertise from content development and design delivery. She has over 17 years of work experience in manufacturing, telecoms, management consulting, and social enterprise. She is also not just a friend, but the founder of We Lead, Women Empowerment for Leadership, Advancement, and Development. This is a global movement of performance-driven, emerging, and accomplished individuals conscious of a need to support a generation of women to lead, engage, impact their community positively. Now I'll say something about We Lead. In the last few years, We Lead has been very involved and very engaged in working with boys in correctional centers. And I'm so pleased to have been one of the persons to have been called, to be on the board of trustee and also to speak to the boys. We know we want to build women in leadership. We know we want to build strong women. But how do we build these strong women if the men that are going to work alongside these women do not have the basic necessity or the basic skills that we need? I think this is all going to come into the emotional intelligence topic that we're speaking today. I'm going to bring the speakers in the studio and I'm going to let them introduce themselves very briefly. Let me start with Viola on my left. Hi, Viola.
I feel so emotionally connected to you this morning, and hello to everybody out there, and hello to Dayo. Always lovely to be with you.
Thank you so much, Viola. Please tell our audience a little bit about who Viola is in the nutshell. Who is Viola?
Usually when you ask me this question for business purposes, I tell you all about the things that my business does. But today, this is a platform where we're talking about emotional intelligence. I'm going to talk to you about who I am emotionally so that I can engage on an emotional level, which is the first lesson in emotional intelligence. I'm a woman. I'm a Black woman. I'm 54. I was born in 1966. My childhood was wonderful. It stayed with me for a very long time. It informed who I have become based on the good and the bad things and some of my earliest memories, which still keep on playing, which is where emotional intelligence finds its root. What was your childhood like? What were the messages that you received? And in particular, what are your motivations to continue the behaviors that you do, whether you're in stress or not in stress? I was a teenage mother. My child died when I was 20. I am a wife, the second wife to my second husband. I am the founder of Ovamba Solutions Inc. I have never graduated from university. I am definitely emotional. I'm excited to be here with you, and I'm open to learning. That's basically who I am.
Thank you so much, Viola. I mean, you made this, talking about emotion, I just felt this connection when you're saying all these things, because talking about your childhood, you brought me back to my childhood. And I was trying to see at what point exactly did emotional intelligence, go into my childhood. And I think I found that. And all the things about you, about yourself, is what makes you you. And what makes us friends, not just business partners, but friends. So thank you so much for picking up to talking. So,
it's our sense of humor that connects us the most, Adeline.
I know about that as well. Yes. And plus the fact that we're very intelligent and we're very smart. I'm not going to refuse this anymore. I'm going to say we're very intelligent, we're very smart.
Well, this is part of self-awareness, is one of the first tools of emotional intelligence. Do you actually know your strengths, who you are? What do you like about yourself? In our culture, especially for women, it becomes problematic to other people if you overlike yourself. But how on earth can you love anybody if you don't love yourself, if you don't know what you're bringing to the table, if you don't know your worth? So on the one hand, we get these messages saying, you too oversabi, you love yourself too much, you're vain, stop looking in the mirror, you think you're fine, you're not fine. Stop going around boys. But later on, they want you to be what they expect you to be, on time, on target, without understanding what is the journey that takes a human being to the place where you think you have the right to tell them what their goals are, but there's not. Life is a journey. At the end of the day, all you have are your emotions, your feelings, and your reactions, and the things that kick you or prompt you, where you react versus where you respond.
Wow. I'm so ready to hear a lot more about this topic. I think this is a very, this is so timely, especially at the moment. And you know why? Let's bring Dayo, because she feels so forgotten her backstage. Hi, Dayo.
Hello.
Hiya, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm fine. Can you hear me clearly?
Very clearly.
Okay, so let me first of all give Viola a round of applause.
And you too.
Your introduction was absolutely amazing, fantastic, so spot on, and so without any embellishment. I mean that's very nice. So I will also just take my introduction from that angle, stating clearly that beyond business, beyond what we do, there is that part of us which is the emotions, our makeup, our experience over time, our childhood experiences, our experience in the workplace, our experience in marriage, our experience with children, and our experience with female leaders, and even leaders at large. One of the things that prompted my work with the boys was because when we started the movement of the women, the whole idea was, everybody's talking about equality, everybody's talking about empowerment, everybody's talking about like women are caged somewhere. And that was not my perspective. I didn't feel caged. I didn't feel less of a human. I just felt that there were things we needed to put in place because of the popularity of our own gender, which is feminine. And then I look at it. We have been riding against the tide, fighting, saying, we want this freedom. And then you find out that the other gender is so ill-equipped to accommodate that strength that we bring to the table. And we said, you know what? For us to get girls, we're already grooming strong girls. For us to get these girls to excel, we need to get boys to that point where they're able to accept very strong women, groom them, live with them, cheer them on. And I'm so glad to tell you that this Saturday, our topic for the boys, our second webinar, which is really gaining ground, people are asking for it, is emotional intelligence in boys. I mean, how do we develop emotional intelligence in boys? And Nigeria today, we have a lot of cases of rape coming up. It's such a big deal. And we realize that, yes, if boys are emotionally intelligent, if you have self-control over your emotions, over your appetite for certain things, you will then excel in life. And then talking about business, in the workplace, I mean, EQ is almost like the ultimate. It takes almost 85-90% of your propellant into success. If you want to succeed, you just must be equipped emotionally. Thank you.
That brings us straight into this question, Dayo. Understanding the concept. What is it? What is emotional intelligence?
Okay, so emotional intelligence is first the ability for you to understand yourself. That is what is called self-awareness. Your ability to then understand the other person, which is now where the empathy, social skills part of it comes in, and your ability to function properly, bringing your understanding of these two sides of the emotion to excel in performance, now bringing a high performance to the table. So if you know yourself, you know your strength, you know your weaknesses, and you're able to work effectively with your teammates, of course, the sky is the limit.
So Viola, would you add something to that? I mean, I feel Dayo, thank you. Viola, would you add, because sometimes when you hear EQ, you hear IQ, you hear lost, you know. I personally am a bit lost when I hear these two things. So what would you say you know, is there a difference? And what is emotional intelligence?
Well, Dayo's absolutely right. But when it's done at the genius level, it's something that's intuitive. Some people are born with a propensity to connect emotionally with other people. And women do seem to have occupied this at a greater rate than men. But there are men who are have amazing emotional intelligence. They usually make excellent fathers and boyfriends and husbands. But Dayo is absolutely right. It is understanding your role in the transaction of an engagement, whether it's business or personal. But it gets really good when you know how to shift and respond to other people, to create a space for them to be their authentic selves. And it really does improve performance across the range. It doesn't matter what you're talking about, whether it's in medical care, whether it's in the development of technology, whether it's in personal relationships between a mother and a child, between a husband and wife, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, everything we do is driven by the human beings that we're trying to become. And we do that through a transaction of engagement. And that's where the emotional intelligence begins to show itself. And that strongly relates to things like empathy. And I'm sure that we will get to some really interesting corners of that particular bag of tricks as this conversation goes on.
So would that be kind of relationship between emotional intelligence and personality types?
I didn't hear you. I'm so sorry.
Sorry, I'm just trying to find out if there is a relationship between emotional intelligence and personality types. You know, is there a relationship?
I don't know. I'm not sure. And I'm trying to think back seriously through the people I've met. Of course, at the far end of the spectrum are psychopaths and sociopaths who I was about to say don't have that, but that's a lie. The reason that individuals on that far scary side of the spectrum are able to keep doing what they do is because they really do understand how human beings react, and they manipulate that against you. And they have the other component of emotional intelligence, which is motivation. Why do they keep doing this in such a cycle that the behavior becomes so practiced they get good at it? Now, on the opposite end of the spectrum are individuals who you may consider to be social butterflies or maybe even very passive. These are individuals who actually, they are motivated by wanting to be wanted, to be needed. They're not sociopaths or psychopaths of that sort. They may even be childlike. They might even be on the autism spectrum. But I think that personality is really just the window through which it expresses itself. Everybody has a level of emotional intelligence. And let's just pretend it starts at 0 and goes all up the way to 100. The question is, where are you on that spectrum? And how do your personality traits allow you to express that or even react to that and experience it with other people?
Thank you, Viola. I think I'm trying to go into a little bit of detail with the personality. From your perspective, would you link emotional intelligence to personality types, kind of?
Yes, absolutely. I will link it. And this is how I will link it. Before I link it, let me first of all let me demystify what emotional intelligence is not. Good. Emotional intelligence is not about being nice. It's about being very honest about your feelings. It's not about being emotional. It's not about just having mere feelings. It's about being very fact-driven before you take decisions. Emotional intelligence is not also just a tool to manipulate others. Maybe you feel, oh, if I can get my way with people. No, it's not a manipulative tool. It's an influencing tool. You use emotional intelligence to influence performance of other people around you. Having said that, emotional intelligence has a connection with personality type, and I will use 4 groups of personality to describe, to then relate what emotional intelligence is. We have what we call the choleric, we have the melancholy, we have the phlegmatic, and we have the sanguine. So let me just use colors to describe them and then use animals. The sanguine is the typical monkey, somebody who is the life of the party. They get to a party, they hold conversation, they're everywhere, they are happy. I mean, their voice is the loudest. They're often described with the color yellow. They hardly see any gray in the sky. So if a sanguine person gets a letter of retrenchment, that's the organization has sent him or her home, she simply dances on with the letter and tells the spouse, "Do you know I've just been sacked?" Like nothing has happened. So a typical choleric is somebody who is those people who are goal-driven. They are the leaders. So if you see most countries usually have people who lead most countries, they have a very high dose of being choleric. They are very prone to anger. Cholerics are very prone to anger, can be quite disruptive, but they are very goal-driven. They are the people who will tell you that I'm going to become the president of the country next year, and they are going to weed off every obstacle before them. I mean, even if their mother is going to stand in between them and that position, they will shove her aside. Then you have the melancholy. So I've told you about the extroverts. Extroverts are the sanguine and the choleric. They are the people who are giving to more conversation, they're more open. Then let's go to the introvert. That's the phlegmatic and the melancholy. Melancholies are extremely reserved, very quiet. They maintain peace. They can be very vengeful. If you see, so if you talk about a typical artist who loves to draw nature, those people are usually given to being melancholy. Then you have the phlegmatic. Let me just describe the phlegmatic in a very funny manner. I usually refer to them as very lazy. The phlegmatic is the person that you can't push to do things. They're very nice. They maintain a very stable environment. They don't get into arguments like the cholerics. They often will not tell you about their opinions, but they can be very resistant to change. The choleric is represented by the red color, and they are often represented by the lion as the animal. They are lions. The sanguines are the monkeys, represented by the yellow color. The melancholy are the blue. They are represented by the blue color, and by the animal ants. Ants are very, they're very industrious, but they work quietly. I mean, they work. Then you have the phlegmatic. The phlegmatic is described by the animal giraffe. They're described by the animal giraffe and by the color green. So these are the 4 personality types. Let me now tell you how emotional intelligence relates to these 4 personality types. And I'll just speak particular emotions. For the cholerics, they are the firebrands. They get very annoyed. They are not very tolerant of, when you are not performing well, a choleric person is not patient with you. A sanguine person, very friendly. Even when they get angry, they diffuse it easily. The go-getter, If you have these 2 people in your team, and you want your team to be lively, you want your team to be happy, you need a sanguine to maintain that happiness. If you want to achieve results, you need a choleric in that team. If you want people who can work behind the scene, you need to push them, but they will perform because they're often very committed to work. That's the phlegmatic. The phlegmatic person will not rock the boat. They won't get you annoyed. In fact, they will keep peace at the expense of their happiness. The melancholy, very conscientious. So this is where we have that mix of emotions in a team. Now, if you're a choleric, the onus is on you to try and maintain a very high level of self-control when you are angry. If you're a phlegmatic, the onus is on you to be more participatory. Don't stand behind and hide and not take responsibility. If you're in melancholy, be more open, be more friendly. Melancholies are very suspicious. They're very suspicious people. They are thinking, oh, you're already doing something behind them. Maybe you don't like them. So if melancholy needs a lot of self-confidence, but they're very hardworking. And then you have, I've talked about choleric, sanguine. Okay, I think I've covered all. So that is where you have a balance of emotions within a team, which individuals also need to cultivate. So as a choleric, you need to learn a bit of hyping low, don't flare off. As a melancholy, you need to be more outgoing. As a phlegmatic, be more cooperative, don't resist change.
So does this, I totally understand. Does this mean it is important for you to understand your team, to know how to deal with them? Because I know we've mentioned it's more about self-awareness and how you behave and how you deal with others and things like that. So knowing different personalities can actually help you guys to work better in a nutshell.
Yes, knowing different personalities can help you. It's just like a football team. So imagine yourself with a team of 11. So usually when we teach emotional intelligence, I use the football pitch. But everybody is manning their role. So you have the back, you have the forward, you have the midfielders, you have the, and then you find out that when a ball is going into the net, people drop from the middle to the back to cover up for the people at the back. So a midfielder can actually drop behind and cover up if they see that the pressure on the pole is a lot, on the net is a lot. So also in a team, you know that you have somebody like a phlegmatic who needs to be pushed to perform. You know that they are good, but they often will not volunteer their time. You need that kind of person. You need to bring them along, hold them by the hands, give them responsibility, cheer them on, recognize what they've done. That is about falling back to support them. So in a team, as a team lead, you need to understand the personality types of different, and nobody is bad, really. There is no bad emotions per se. It's just for you to balance it and leverage on the strengths of that emotion. Every emotion, personality has a strength.
Dayo, that's a very good point, and this is going to bring us straight to the next topic, Dayola, which is why is it such a big topic these days? I mean, why is it extremely important, emotional intelligence? Why is it important, Dayola, for us to be, intelligent, for us to be emotionally intelligent?
I think because as humankind continues to live and dance around the globe, we find new ways to measure who we are. In the old days, it was thought that intelligence was about your IQ, intelligent quotient, your ability to solve problems. But we also know that there's a form of intelligence where you know a lot of things, which is utterly useless if you can't use it to transform something. There's also mind-muscle intelligence. Take somebody like Michael Jordan, who has an amazing ability to use their body to execute a number of activities in order to score a goal or anything like that. There are different types of intelligence. But the more digital presence that comes into the human race, the more we want to examine what its impact is on us as an evolving species. So now we have emotional intelligence, why feelings are important, what we do with them, how we use them, and how other people experience us as we interchange and exchange with each other. Dayo's right. She's given a very good way of looking at personalities, which are often used in Myers-Briggs and other intelligent measurements or categorization systems in order to figure out how teams are put together. But I want to go a little bit deeper than that. And I know that this is a business conversation, but at the end of the day, we are managing human beings. And again, not just in business. Emotional intelligence is important, especially for leaders, because you have to gain the type of intelligence that allows you the flexibility to respond to people where you find them. If you do not know how to do that, you can't get performance. And that's why what she's saying is important to understand. But I want to throw something out there for Dayo and for you, Adeline, and for anybody else out there. You said at the beginning of this, what if you're not an expert? Is this something you're born with? Is this something that you learn? And I always take this back down to the beginnings. How do children learn? I'll give you an example. I was given 1 hour to become the mother to 3 children one day. I was walking down the street, my husband's 2 stepdaughters and their younger sister. Something had come up and they needed somewhere to stay. I turned around and walked in the opposite direction to go and get involved and pick them up. The youngest of them had had a few challenges. Some of them were quite severe. And I noticed that she was incredibly what they call flat affected. So her emotional range was very narrow. Her responses to stimulus didn't veer past, ha ha ha, or there was nothing else. I could not read this child. That's when I began to realize that we're all born with emotions, but we need to be taught how to identify what they are and what we do with them. And this is where you start to see where somebody may be disruptive in a team, the way you're talking about how people are mixed together, or where somebody may be reticent and lays back. But the healthy emotional human being, the intelligence quotient for emotional capacity gets higher the more they understand the gray matter between these 4 categories that you mentioned, or any of the categories that people give them. The more we understand about human beings, especially in the world that we have today, the better we can predict outcomes, the better we can design artificial intelligence, the better we can inform people, teach them, or create business products and systems and services that suit the individual personality. You're in marketing. How often these days do you still hear people talk about market segment? Not as much as you hear people talking about the one-on-one interaction, how to select in a laser fashion the exact customer you're looking for. Why? Because you figured out how to create communications that make an individual feel that you're speaking directly to them. Because at the bottom of this all, human beings desire to be understood. The more you can make a person feel understood, or the more an individual has a platform to be understood, the higher the emotional intelligence and the better the outcomes of that engagement. And that's why this is so important today. You're right, Dio. It's not about manipulation. But in the hands of an individual who has advanced tools of emotional intelligence, they can use it, good or bad, to influence outcomes and influence people's behaviors and choices and their experience with them within that transaction of communication.
Yeah.
Viola, thank you so much. I mean, I feel like just clapping because your point is so, it is so, I mean, it is cemented what Dario has said. And now you get it now to the actual life, to the real life. So I can basically see how my action will knock off the others. And I can also see why it's important for me to behave a certain kind of way without compromising more or without compromising my core values. I need to understand that it is not always, as Dario said, about trust, but it's about how we make others feel.
Dario, can I give you an example of that, which sort of it takes what you were talking about?
Yes.
Money I ever raised before there was a Vamba was $5,000 from a Cameroonian, actually, living in the United States. In our culture, in most African culture, we have had so many decades and centuries of not always feeling that we have permission or not knowing when permission has been given to react to something. So our intelligence is built on preventing people from getting behind the barrier, because we have been led to believe that intelligence is about how much you prevent having happen, whether it's risk to yourself, looking stupid in public, making mistakes. We all know who we are. Well, in this particular case, we wanted this individual to give us some money for our first business. This conversation went on for 3 months of constantly talking, and we kept missing the cues of what motivates this individual to release money from their pocket. And as the weeks and the months went by, it suddenly dawned on me that I had not asked a very simple question, which I now never fail to ask. And the question was, how do you want to feel about giving me this money? What will make you feel good about doing this? Because emotional intelligence, again, is about understanding that every single human being wants to feel good about the decisions that they make. And your role is to provide the environment to make them feel good enough to do what you think that you guys should be doing together. When I asked that question, after all the business processes, after all the spreadsheets, after all the chat, he said, well, I have a master's degree and an MBA, and I've never been in a business before. And I really feel like I would like to know what it's like to be an entrepreneur. I'm a senior in my company, but I have an MBA. I've never done business on my own. So I said to him, so if I can make you feel included, if I can give you the experience of being an entrepreneur and give you a business card, will you give me this money? And he said, yes. That is when I began to understand the intelligence behind understanding what people want and how they want to feel, and how important it is to make people feel good about the decisions they make. You even want to be able to make people feel good about when you do something terrible to them. And it's so important as leaders that if you're going to do something that somebody doesn't like, that you provide buffers to their emotional health. So that even if that relationship comes back around again, you've handled it with the intelligence and sensitivity that you've not completely destroyed that person. It's important to ask and to know what drives people's motivations and what makes them feel at their best. If you can do that, then you can leverage that intelligence for so much more.
This is such a timely time to be having this.
And you're right. This was an individual who was a very sanguine person. They were a very hold back kind of individual.
Yeah.
Okay, that's probably a phlegmatic or a melancholy.
Yeah,
that's probably phlegmatic or a melancholy.
Yeah, I mean, I won't come at it from your angle language, but I've experienced what you've explained.
You see, one of the things that you asked that is very pertinent is, can this be learned? Can emotional intelligence be learned? Absolutely, yes.
Yeah,
it can be learned. It's a skill that can be learned. It's a skill that you can cultivate. Okay, let me just give you a very funny example, which is very common with women.
Are you asking one of our questions, which is right there at the bottom?
No, not even yet.
I haven't seen any questions.
There's no question yet.
No, because we have the question on cultivating.
There are people talking.
Okay, cultivating. I never saw it.
Anyway, okay, carry on.
Anyway, it's a skill that can be cultivated. So imagine for women, and I'm not saying it's the same for every woman, most women tend to scream on their children because, I mean, they can drive you nuts. They can very common. Okay, let's flip it to your employee. Most times when you're in the office, your employee actually drives you nuts. But what do? Most times you have learned the act of being able to cushion the effect, respond appropriately, because you are guided by a code of conduct which says you can't scream on your employee or employer or anybody you're working with. So you're more cautious. Why haven't we extended it home? Because we feel that home is where no rules guides us. We are the Lord and Master, and we don't even consider the emotions of our children. That whenever we do that, we are also hurting them. So that is just why it's a behavior we can learn. So if we can be one person in the office and somebody else at home, is a behavior that we can learn. So emotional intelligence, absolutely, we can learn it. Then there are five parts to emotional intelligence, coming from the model of Daniel Goleman, which is the mixed model. The mixed model, which talks about self-awareness, self-regulation, talks about social skills, motivation, and empathy. Those are the 5 major parts of emotional intelligence. And once you get a good grasp of your self-awareness, which is the first one, you know that typically you're a screaming person, or typically you're a laid-back person. You don't like to get involved. Oh, I know I'm a laid-back person. So most often I slow down my teammates. So you can then say, what can I do to ensure that I don't slow down my teammates. What can I do to be more cooperative? Then you start looking at the weaknesses of your personality type. The weaknesses of your personality type, once you can have a hold on it, improve on it, it rubs off on your emotional intelligence. Definitely. That is how you become more emotional intelligent.
Beautiful. So you answered that question, meaning we are going to cut that question. We're not going to ask the question. Ayoola, would you want to add something on this one as well?
Yeah, I'm looking at the messages that Mercy is posting up here, and Dio, I think you addressed that again.
I think I'm just going to put some of these questions. I think a
lot of it is being covered in the conversation that Dio, myself, and you are having. Nature versus nurture. Outside of the academic categories that you've mentioned, there is what we get messaged. Now, when I was born in 1966, and this is important for me to say this year, it was at a time when Cameroonians and Africans did not have a foothold in the Western world the way you would think, and our parental messages were similar to what Dio is talking about. My father was Cameroon's first psychiatric practitioner. I was reading when I was 3, and by the time I was 8, I had already read books on things like transactional analysis. So the nurturing that I had was already in the vein of how does the human mind work, which was made me a bit of a bizarre child, but these are things that stayed with me. The reason I'm talking about this is the messages that we get in childhood have a lot to do with how that emotional intelligence is guided and how we use it. So I'm going to read out statements that we as Africans often hear in childhood and how we use them today. And Dio, I'm looking forward to your responses to this. How many times have we heard somebody say, don't take my leniency for weakness? As if to say that being empathetic or giving space for doubt makes you weak. So we end up closing off and becoming incredibly harsh to people because we keep getting told these stories in childhood. Or don't let people know how you really feel, they'll take advantage of you. So how are you supposed to come across as trustworthy if you don't know how to trust other people because of the messaging that you receive at such an early age when children actually are at their most open? Or it's okay to tell a white lie. Well, how long before that white lie becomes gray and then dark? Who made this crap up? And how do you teach your child when it's okay to lie and when it's not? As adults, we can take responsibility for the untruths that we inject into communications that children can't. So how are parents supposed to be able to manage some of these messages to help a child's emotional intelligence develop the right way? What about don't trust anyone, which is a very typical thing in our culture? And the other thing, and Dio, I'd love to hear your comments on this, is emotional intelligence for Africans the same as it is for non-Africans? I still don't know the answer to that. Or feelings don't come into business. I completely disagree with that. They actually do. And as you said earlier, Adeline, well, basically, yes, it does. We can't be two people at different times. That's almost like being schizophrenic. And then the final one, typical woman, too emotional. So when you get all of this messaging throughout your childhood, your role now, the beauty of a conversation like this is you can start going back and take a deep look at the messages that were running around in your house around money, how to make money, relationships, sexuality, anything. At the end of this conference, this webinar here, I think what you need to go back is take a look at what was said, how it was said, and of course the volume at which it was said, and which of your parents was saying it, because the gender behind the messages makes this information land very differently. I had my father talking to me on an analytic basis all the time. I had my mother with the raised voice, always talking about what you shouldn't do in case you get yourself somewhere, such as, you better learn to cook, you won't get married. You better wash well. You better stay away from boys, you'll get pregnant. Whereas my dad would say, what do you think will happen if you do such and such? Giving me the permission to manage my own risk. Once you start digging into these childhood messages the cultural relevance, the volume, and the gender, you can start to learn your own emotional intelligence and where you sit on that spectrum.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. And I would say nature or nurture.
I think you can take this straight to the root, and I see myself in every step. I ask myself that question.
Nature or nurture? Yes, nature is what you come out with. And I often tell people, when you have a baby, nobody is born a clean slate. You come with something. You come with your personality. You come with some doses of the basis of your emotions, even before you start learning from your environment. So let me give you a typical example of somebody who is choleric, somebody who is a natural leader, who is prone to being very angry, but very forward-looking. They are very goal-driven. If that person is raised by a mother that is very soft, who is probably not a sanguine, but maybe a melancholy, and who is very soft in our approach, this person who is choleric by nature, who really does not have a lot of soft emotions, would be able to balance it out because of the influence of the mother. That is nurture.
Yeah.
If you have somebody who also is very laid back, being raised by a laid back mother, the person is going to become a disaster. I mean, simple. So sometimes the balance of those who raised us is very important. And if you have a screaming mother, a choleric mother raising another choleric child, you're going to have a very disruptive person, somebody who lacks a lot of self-control. So such persons will get into fist-cuffs, arguments, will not be able to control their emotions. They won't be able to work with people effectively. So nature, yes, there is nature, and I agree there is nurture. But even where you have been nurtured wrongly, let's assume you've been nurtured wrongly, you have the opportunity as you grow up to shed some of the weight that are not right. Emotional intelligence is about being very authentic. It's not about manipulation, and it's not about pretense. It's about being fact-driven. So if a woman comes to me and tells me that, oh, my baby is ill, maybe I'm a line manager, and she can't come to work, and she's told me our baby is sick, and I know that the baby is ill, I must show empathy to such a mother. I need to say, okay, take the day off. If you have deliverables, I can shift it. I can even take up the deliverables. That is being authentic. When I know that you are lying and it's very proven that you're just looking for a way out, and I can see it, maybe I call the hospital and you don't have any records at the hospital as you claim, I'm also right to stamp you with, to then give you maybe a warning letter, or a query. I am being very, very fact-driven and take nothing away from my emotions. I'm doing the right thing. Emotional intelligence is that it's not about being nice to people. You don't need to be very particular about what people feel. You need to be very particular about being fair to people you are working with, being very genuine. So I know that if you scream, if somebody screams on me, I know I won't be happy. Why would I scream on another person? I know that if I'm given a task and I shy away from, I run away from, I abandon it, and go to a party like a sanguine would typically do, they often do not deliver on the result. I mean, if such a person gets a query, you should know that you deserved it. And as a boss, don't feel bad. Don't feel bad when you deal with situations as they are. That is not about not being emotional. In fact, that is being very emotionally intelligent. And let me tell you, people will get a sack letter and still remain your friend.
That's
because
exactly
they know that
what I was saying. The ability to even when you
so that is being about being very, very, very authentic. And okay, let me stop here and allow.
Laila, you're about to say something.
I was agreeing with her. Emotional intelligence is really about the tools you bring to the table to manage situations, whether it's business or not. It's perfectly possible to fire somebody and still make them feel okay, not as if their personality was destroyed, but really their conduct or their productivity is the issue. Emotional intelligence is also about your ability to be able to know the difference between the person and what they do. Some of the nicest people do the most maniacally stupid things or even dangerous things. And some of the most horrifically unpleasant human beings do some of the nicest things. It all depends on the situation and the circumstances at the time. And do you know the difference between the two of them? Here's an example. Somebody at Ovamba many years ago had that fiery personality that comes from the other side of the Mungo, where people answer questions with questions, and you say, do you know where that file is? Did I take the file from you? And they never actually answer anything because their childhood and upbringing is so combative, and they're so actually trying to protect themselves that they have learned in the home, through primary school, and in the work, that the person who wins is the individual that creates the most disruption and doesn't do anything. So they're emulating behavior that they see from individuals who are in charge. So that's the behavior that they have. So one day I called this individual and I said, I really want to fire you. Your behavior is horrific. Everyone's complaining about you. But before I do that, I want to understand, why do you do this? And she looked at me shocked, because obviously nobody had said, why are you such a bitch? And she said, well, isn't this the way everybody behaves? I said, not in the culture of Ovamba. This is disruptive and makes people feel incredibly bad when they're around you. And I need people to feel good so that they are motivated and enjoy the work. I'm going to give you 4 weeks to stop being a bitch, stop screaming and shouting at people, answer questions directly, and stop evading. Do you think you can do this for me? She went, okay. And she did. 1 year later, I called her in and said, sit down. Remember all that bitchy, nasty behavior you used to have before? She said, Madame, I'm not doing that thing again. No. I said, I know, but I need you to bring it back because you are now on collections. So in managing a team, everybody has a role. And this really does happen. You look at your team as human beings.
Yeah.
And you see what they are and what they're not. And you can actually sit down and say to people, you know, this bit about you fits here. This bit doesn't. Here's what I need from you. And it was hilarious because she thoroughly enjoyed going out there and harassing a customer or two. And she take it down and get their money. And that's where, as you were talking about Daniel Goleman, the motivation, in understanding people's motivations. When you are an expert at emotional intelligence, you know how to bring out the best in people for whatever that situation is. Take a look at your kids. If you've got a few of them, you know the child who is motivated by mommy praising them, which is most people, and the child who is motivated by what they're afraid of. Unfortunately, in our country today, and we are talking about Cameroonians, our leadership are motivated by fear. They don't do anything good until it's almost too late. So in trying to use emotional intelligence for business in our particular circumstances, unfortunately, some of us have had to create situations where it's dire enough for people to take action.
Well, I think that we continue with I think what you've just said as a conclusive phrase,
Yeah.
directly connect with developing emotional intelligence in leadership and teams can dramatically improve well-being, performance,
Yes.
productivity, and drive success.
Well, it's about creating a culture, isn't it?
Yeah.
I absolutely refuse at Ovamba to create the stimulus that is on people being afraid. Because when people are afraid, they shut down. So in order to do that, intelligently speaking, we've had to create an environment where it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to make a mistake, but you have to be given the permission to take responsibility and ownership of the mistake and come up with solutions to fix it, knowing that you will be supported in your efforts to do something right. I don't punish anybody at Ovamba for making a mistake in the process of trying to do something good, because you need those mistakes to learn. And if you don't create an environment for that, then the emotional intelligence journey is stunted. You have to experiment your way through life. Children do it. You said this again, Dio. I don't know how many, if you realize how many great nuggets you keep dropping, but fairness is the politics of play for children. And that's why when you listen to children talking, when they're playing amongst themselves, when they want to complain about something, the first thing they say is, it's not fair, because we are all looking for fairness, acceptance, equality. When you create an environment to work in, intelligently focused on creating that environment, even as adults, the best of who you were as a child, including those ambitions, the emotions, the stimulus, they come to the table. And as a leader, that's what you do to get the best. What is the right a cultural and emotional environment for your team, considering the different personalities, to get the best out of all of them? And for us, it's an environment, especially as we transition from being a startup, an experimental place where mistakes are not punished if they are in the journey of doing the right thing against the corporate goals that we have. But if you're faffing around, not involved in those corporate goals, I will cut you so fast. That's it. Just like you said, Dio, you're fired. But you keep the individuals who have shown in so many different ways that they sincerely want to help growth and are willing to make mistakes in the process of doing so. That's my thing.
Thank you very much, Vala. Let me just talk about motivation, because that is the less understood part of the emotion intelligence spectrum. Let's talk about motivation. Let me just paint a picture of a young man in Nigeria a few weeks ago who committed suicide.
Oh no!
So he committed suicide, and he said, "Oh," and he left a note saying that, oh, he was tired of life. He was probably wasn't making it as much as he feels he should. You know, he hasn't met his goals. He apologized to his mother that he needs to give up. Let me tell you a bit about motivation and the individual and the workplace. Most high-performing employees who work with people who succeed are people who have motivation beyond money, beyond beyond the very thing that brought them there. They have a higher sense of responsibility towards whatever role they are playing. So let me use myself as an example. When we started the journey in We Lead, beyond making money from training, recruitment, and everything HR, I'm mostly driven about changing lives, ensuring that whenever you meet me, you're living with something better. I'm able to influence you positively. So whether you're paying me well or not, I needed to enjoy my job to perform. That young man was probably in the wrong occupation, probably taking the wrong role, and he has not gotten to a level of accepting emotions. So you must label your emotions. You are happy, you are sad, sometimes you experience fear. Those are the emotions. Once you can experience the emotions, your motivation sustains you even when you are failing.
Yeah.
Even when you are performing less, your motivation sustains you because there is something you're looking forward to. So I already have a goal this year to say, oh, we are reaching out to 2,000 boys this year. That was our goal at We Lead. 2,000 boys, and the COVID-19 came like a beast and took away all the plans. I mean, just made the plans into a mess. And we looked at it, but I saw a huge opportunity. I saw a huge opportunity to then knock down the borders everywhere around Nigeria and reach out beyond the shores of Nigeria to boys in London, to boys in other African countries, in Cameroon, to boys in Asia, just by connecting to the internet. But another person will see that that situation and say, oh, this is the end of it. I can't move ahead. So motivation is one thing that everybody, whether individuals, as a working in the place, you must understand what is your motivation. If your motivation does not get you beyond the money, if you don't have a higher calling, giving up, not performing well, is one of the things that will then start to happen naturally.
Dio, what are your repeated patterns of emotional motivation that you see that keep you going back to the things that you've done over your career and in your life?
Okay, let me give you a very happy moment for me. When I go, so one day we got into the correctional center.
No. That's not how it goes. Let me ask the question again, because it's a very simple, almost a one-word answer. What emotion keeps cropping up that motivates you? I'm not talking about the goals. I'm talking about your emotional internal landscape that you've noticed in your life that keeps driving you to the choices and the goals that you seek, that keep bringing you fulfillment.
Okay, so anytime I hear the word, you have impacted me, for instance. If I hear the word, you have impacted me, it brings me joy. And that's why I said, when we enter that place and a boy from a correctional center, a prison, got an admission to a university abroad to go and study the course, a boy in the correctional center, I was moved to tears. We were barely working with them for 2 years, and I am for 2 weeks. It was already in the process, but some of the things we were teaching them was already, yielding results. And then one of the boys in the new center ran to me and told me, "Oh, you taught me in the old center. They've just brought me to the new center for boys that were now teenagers." So we taught boys that were
by impacting people, joy, and seeing individuals excel.
Exactly. So even if I don't make money, I'm counting the number of people I've reached out to. And that's why I'm very big on statistics, and Adeline knows that.
You're saying this totally sustainably motivated by money alone. I want to share something with you, Dio. In hiring individuals, I always ask the question, what did you want to be when you were a kid? You would laugh your head off the number of idiots that say, I always wanted to be in banking. You're a damn liar. No 3-year-old wants to be a damn banker. Oh, I've always wanted to be a lawyer. You're lying again. No 5-year-old wants to be a lawyer. When you are at that age, the talents and motivations you had then are the ones that carry you to the grave. Somebody asked the question about burnout. You don't suffer burnout from the things that give you joy, or the things that are naturally within you that you keep on using to get through life. For me, and here's my shameful confession, I am motivated by the love and adoration of people who think I am absolutely fan-freaking-tastic. I have a level of functional arrogance that is quite disgusting. I know this, and I agree with that.
So you're a sucker for praise. You're a sucker for praise.
Oh, I love to be loved. I love to be liked. I love to be admired. It is all true. There's nothing wrong with it. It motivates me. It took me a while to get used to it, but there are lots of people who are that way. If I know that what I'm doing is unique, interesting, and better than other people, you can guarantee I'll keep on doing it. There is a level that we have to dig to reach the bottom of our soul to find out, what are you constructed of? And I was like that as a child. I was always the one jumping up and down saying, Mommy, Mommy, look at me. Daddy, Daddy, look at me. I'm still at 54. Hey, hey, world, look at me. So always behind anything, even beyond learning. It's not that I can do this.
It's not the money.
But ask anybody on any of our friends here on this webinar to ask the question, dig deep, tell the truth. What really
motivates you. That's the catch, and that's why a lot of people fail at career. So they're not in the right job. They're not facing reality. To be honest, I don't think I would ever be as rich as a Dangote, but it's never in my spectrum. I don't want to be super rich. I want to be comfortable, to be able to travel the world. I'm not going to sacrifice my happiness on the platter of money. No, I'm not. That's not me. But I will tell you, there are people who are motivated by money.
Yeah,
that is all they know.
So here's a question for you, Dio. If you had a whole bunch of money and you got so successful from what you're doing, what would give you joy to do with that money?
You should know by now. You should know by now.
I think there
And
will
we
be a
put
great
everything.
voice school somewhere.
Yes. I already started an academy.
Thank you, because of
I
the
already-
authenticity you brought to this conversation.
Yes. You know, my husband was like, when I said, oh, we want to start the boys' academy, you know, whenever I said, he would just go like, okay, here we go. We have started another round. Because he knows that once I'm going into something, that is my motivation. I just want people to change. I want to see societal ills die down. And I know that everything that a lot of ills are tied to the boys.
Sure.
And I'm just going with that vision. And sometimes I ask myself,
yeah,
why am I like this? But I think I'm lucky to have recognized that early and then to have moved with it. So
you're very fortunate, and it shows. That's why I admire you so much.
Thank you very much.
Very soon.
So, Julia, thank you for joining us. Julia is just saying, defining who I am with my own what drives me. Exactly. So let's go to this question, which before Viola out. Let's talk about thanks to all those who are joining us. We see that the audience is getting bigger. Thank you. We love when the audience is getting bigger. So today we're talking about emotional intelligence. We're talking about self-management, self-awareness, social awareness, and relationship management. So if you're just joining us and you don't have time, please take some time to watch this video so that this webinar so that you can find out a lot more about what the audience has been talking about. Let's think about some of the new tools, fresh thinking about emotional intelligence. Is there any that you want to share with us, Viola?
I just want to say goodbye to everybody because, as you know, I'm 10 minutes late for my next thing. But there's the new tools and fresh thinking about emotional intelligence. I have only one thing. I challenge our wonderful friends here on this webinar to dig deep into who you were when you were a child and take a look at the messages that were fed to you in your childhood about money, religion, education, and what constitutes a good person. It will give you an opportunity to break things down and make a change in your life or in the way you raise your kids. Or it will give you an opportunity to recommit to a path that was once upon a time working for you. That's all I've got. Dio, as always, I am always so honored to be in your presence. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm still waiting for the travel blog. I'm still waiting for the travel blog, Viola.
When we start traveling again, it will be... Adeline, you are a flamethrower. That is what you are. You throw that flame out so far, you just light up the world. We're so lucky to have you, and everybody who joined this call. It was great to share with you. I unfortunately have to go so that I can go and show off somewhere else.
All right.
Thank you so much, Viola. Thank you so much for all in the nearest future. So, Dio,
yeah.
Thank you so much for agreeing to continue. I know we still have a few questions that we want to run by, and let's talk about the new tools. Are there new tools you want to share with our audience?
Okay, for you to, on your own, for you to understand emotional intelligence, your level of emotional intelligence, there is the Myers-Briggs tool. Myers-Briggs tool gives 16 different personality types. 16 different personality types. So I've given you 4 major personality types, but because there is no one human being that will be only sanguine, you won't only be choleric, you won't just be melancholy, you won't just be phlegmatic, you're going to be a mix of, almost sometimes, some people are a mix of the 4, some are a mix of the 3, some have just dominant sanguine, and then they have a recessive choleric. I think, Adeline, you are probably a mix of choleric and sanguine from what I see. Typically, you are a mix. So you have people who are, so you have 16 different personality types. If you take a Myers-Briggs test, which is free online, you would understand a lot of why you behave the way you do and what you can do, to change some of the weaknesses that you're displaying. Also, there is another one, which is the Mind tool. I've never tried that, but the Mind tool is also online, it's free. And that will also, give you very great insight into the 5 parts of EQ, which is self-regulation, self-awareness, empathy, your levels. Will give you the different levels where you are. And I think these tools are free to a large extent. If you want to use it in your organization, you may need to pay for it. But if you're using it as an individual, then you can use it for free. And that can give you a very good foundation of self-awareness, so that you yourself, you're not shocked at your behavior. You know that, okay, this is why I behave, why I do, and what can I do, to change this aspect of me.
Dayo, let's talk a little bit about linking emotional intelligence to management style and performance. I think we kind of brushed that through when we were talking about the two topics that really questions that really connect. So there's something you want to add to this, because this was not exhausted.
Okay, so that's like asking the relationship between emotional intelligence and leadership. Basically, for your team to perform well as a leader, you must be very high on emotional intelligence. Let me just paint a picture. If you're an engineer and you're working in the factory and you're managing production, you're working with machines, you're working with people, but predominantly you are bothered about the output of your factory. So let's say you're producing tomato paste. You're bothered about the number of cartons of tomato paste you are going to turn out. When you leave that role and you're given the role of a supply chain director, for instance, you're not working directly on the factory floor anymore. You are working with different heads of units to then ensure, maybe heads of units, let's say transportation, you are working with production, you are working with customer delivery. And then you then need to manage the heads of units to perform. You are no longer managing direct output. You are managing human beings. And this is where becoming a team lead becomes important. As a leader, one of the things that would ensure that you perform excellently well is to understand your teammates. So if you're not patient enough to leverage on the strengths of every individual, you then find yourself firing almost every of your team members. And again, I will use the football analogy. On the football pitch, you have the person who is in the forward, you have the midfielders, and you have the people who are at the flanks, and you have the people at the back. The people who are in the midfield, they don't necessarily score. What they are tasked with is to hold on to the ball and ensure that they create a play, a kind of play that holds on to the ball. They have what you call possession. Then you have the people in the forward who are supposed to score. This is how a team lead can view each of the team members. You don't expect that every of your team member will be excellent at delivering at a presentation. No. But there are people who will prepare this presentation who will not deliver it, but they are saddled with the content development. There are people who will do the research for people to produce the content. You must then identify which of my team member is in the research space, which of my team members is hands-on, who will deliver for me, who would get their hands dirty, who are the ones who have executive presence, who when they enter a hall, they seize the whole hall with their presence, with their aura, with their charisma. You then leverage all the different potentials of your team members to deliver results at that level. So if you do not understand people's personality, and you yourself, you are not intelligent to understand how to manage other people, then failure is inevitable.
Thank you, Dayo. So would there be any tangible benefits that developing your EQ can bring to yourself and to your organization? So is there anything that we can actually tangible, something, because when we talk of EQ or EI, we're talking about something that is in the action, in the attitude, in the way we behave. We're talking more on the psychological. So is there anything that you can link to a tangible benefit or tangible benefits?
People who have high level of IQ are great, EQ are fantastic performance. You usually outshine others. So if I have, if I'm very high on IQ, even if I don't have the technical competence, Adeline, I can get you to do the job for me because I know how to speak to you to get you to do the job for me. So when you're very high on EQ, you are able to deliver on your results. You are a superstar. You are leading a team. So imagine the president of a country who has a lot of emotional intelligence. You are working with different team members. The finance minister for finance is there. You are not essentially a finance person, but because you're able to get results from the finance person, you're able to manage the emotions. And that's why if you are the leader, you must understand empathy. You must understand how to work with others. That's social skills. You must be aware of your own weaknesses and know how to downplay them. So if I'm the typical person who I usually like to use people and dump them. So when I say use and dump, you use people, you don't even acknowledge that they've done anything. You take all the praises. You are at a meeting, you don't acknowledge your team. You're going to get a team that will eventually, disintegrate. Because they will say, oh, he's never grateful for whatever we do. You don't place their names on it. But you have other leaders, when they go out, the first thing, and I will bring you back to the first conference we had at Cameroon. I insisted that the team members come out to be recognized.
Yeah.
I insisted. Yeah. And that is one of the reasons, because I could have said, oh, as the executive director, okay, I did this, I did that, blah, 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 etc. I wouldn't have done it without the support of the team. So tomorrow, the team, okay, some of them have left for other places, but they are still with you because you have nurtured them. Yes, because of the relationship you have built with them. So that is one of the most important things. As a leader, you don't have all the yeses. You don't have all the competence. You must be able to leverage on the individual's strength, the strength of individuals to then, excel. And then downplay your weakness. If you are try to appreciate people. If you are the person who gets angry a lot, just try self-control. Try to subdue your emotions. Attack the situation and not the individual. Mind your vocabularies. Don't use abusive words on people. These are some of the things that leaders do, to ensure that they then do very well. So these are some of them. For individuals, as individuals, emotional intelligence is very important, even in the home. And that is why you find some marriages work, some of them fail. Just because somebody is not emotionally intelligent. Okay, so you say, oh, your husband is crazy. Instead of you to say, oh, this situation caused this issue. Okay, there is an issue. Address the issue. I do not like this situation. Don't say, oh, I think you are dumb. I think you are dumb. You already put a barrier that would not allow those issues to be resolved. But when you say, oh, I don't think we should have done it this way, this is why we failed. Another thing leaders should do is take responsibility. If your team has failed, don't say it's my team that failed. You people caused the failure. No. An emotionally intelligent leader would take responsibility. Would take responsibility, whether for failure, and we share the success responsibility with the team.
Thank you, Dayo. Thank you so much. If you're just joining us, emotional intelligence, what is it all about and how do you exercise it? Is it something that can be nurtured? Is it something that you're born with? Is it important in the workplace? What are some of the tangible things that you can, you can see to say this has been delivered because of emotional intelligence within our team? Different personalities. Do I need to be this? Do I need to have this personality in order to achieve this? So how do they all come to place? And we've been speaking today with Viola Lewin and Dayo Laurie. Now, before we actually wrap up, which is just 5 minutes to go, Dayo, I want you to tell our audience about your leadership, the Nest. Dayo's just set up the Nest, which is a leadership platform for female leaders. I think she will, give us a little bit of an insight on what she hoped to achieve and how we all can be a part of this.
Okay, thank you so much. So the Nest is born out of our desires to equip women. So I know that a lot of organizations, we have a lot of female organizations everywhere. But the Nest is very unique. It's going to be a close mentoring program, a peer-to-peer mentoring, not the regular mentoring where we see there's just a mentor and a mentee. We are going to learn from each other. The Nest is a platform where we are not talking about equality. We are not talking about feminism. No, we are not talking about being marginalized, because I believe totally that women have the platforms now to succeed. There are a lot of platforms. We just need to equip ourselves. So how do we get to the next level of success? That is where the Next coming. The Next would groom women, would nurture women in different aspects of life. So imagine you want to set up a business and you don't have any knowledge about the legal aspect of it. A legal person in the Nest would be able to assist you, to advise you on the legal aspect of what you want to do. For instance, a lot of people usually have issues with tax issues in businesses. In the Nest, we're going to harness the strengths of different individuals in that group to then help us. For instance, in the tax issue, somebody who is a tax consultant would be able to give you advice and say, you know what, this is how to set up your tax processes. So the Nest is an ecosystem that will bring women together to succeed. However, we are not agitating. We are not we are not fighting for anything. We just want to, we want to grow together. That is what the Nest is about.
Thank you so much, Dayo. Thank you so much, everyone who's joined us today. It has been a fantastic time talking about emotional intelligence and also talking about a little bit of IQ. It has also been a fantastic time, just listening to Viola and Dayo, who have truly empowered me, enriched me, educated me, inspired me, and I'm sure they've done, similar to both of you. Dayo is tuning in from Nigeria, and Viola is tuning in from Maryland, America. So this is a Corporate Women in Leadership, and we are here every week. We discussing different leadership different leadership topics, and we're seeing how we can apply that in our day-to-day job. This is, I think, our 16th session or so, and we also have a French session, which happens twice a month, every Friday. So from not this Friday, not tomorrow Friday, but from next Friday, we're going to kick off with the French session. We did a pilot a few weeks back, and if you scroll through the page, you're going to see and listen. We also have a YouTube channel whereby we share everything that we discuss on this platform. We just share the link so that people can watch at their leisure. Please, if you do have people who are not on Facebook, you can share the YouTube link with them so that they can watch, they can be empowered, inspired to take action. So Dayo, it has been extremely fantastic having you on board. Dayo is the first executive director for Corporate Women in Leadership, and she's also a very active board member and usually support us with the different things that we need, and kind of collaborative platform that we have. So Dayo, if there's one last thing that we want to talk about emotional intelligence to our audience, what keywords would you want them to take away with them today?
Be self-aware. Be self-aware.
So we have to be self-aware in order for us to be emotionally intelligent. So thank you, Dayo. I'm just going to kick you off my studio. I'll meet you backstage in a minute. My final goodbye.
All right.
Bye for now, and speak to you
soon. Bye, guys.
Thank you so much for hanging on to the last minute. Before we started this program, we're talking about some fantastic news. We're talking about the relaunch of Fabafrique magazine. As you all know, Fabafrique magazine is this is where it all started. Everything started with Fabafrique magazine, and now we've been able to develop and grow the business into different things. We've grown Corporate Awards, which is celebrating excellence in people management around Africa, and we're talking about Corporate Women in Leadership, which is about empowering women. Now, please be aware that Corporate Women in Leadership is absolutely free. It's a free initiative that we started a few years ago, 5 years ago, and we have a mentor-mentee program which pairs aspiring female leaders to establish female leaders. So if you are watching us and you are a woman in leadership position, you are a decision maker, please do get in touch. Do get in touch with us because we want to speak with you. We want to speak with you because we need more and more women to be part of our mentorship program. We have a lot of young women who need mentors, and they don't have any yet. So we're looking at pairing mentors to mentee. If you are a passionate leader with a strong topic that you feel you want to talk about, please do get in touch with us and just give us a topic that you would like us to discuss, as long as it is connected to leadership and as long as it can get women to the board. Get in touch with us and we'll be able to see how you can come on board and discuss this topic. And join our mailing list in order to have free mentorship opportunities and free training opportunity. Now, let me play a short video before I go. This video is really short. It's about our fabulous Fab-Afrique magazine and the relaunch. Thank you. I'm just reading the final comments before I log off. We have 2 more minutes to go. Muna, I am so grateful to not have missed this session. Managing a team is not easy. Thanks to you all. You have been very brilliant with good illustration to better understand emotional intelligence. Thank you so much, Muna. Arabuna, all the way from Douala. Thank you. Thank you so much for checking in with us today, girl. And just to truly appreciate the time that you all have spent being with us. Julia Gam, Boss Lady, thank you. Goretti, thank you. Everybody, Mercy, thank you so much. Your contribution is always so welcome. Bawa, Tatani, thank you so much. Thank you for staying with us. I want to prepare your minds for next week. Next week, we're going to be having 2 amazing women. One will be checking in from Liberia, and the other will be checking in from Kenya. And tomorrow we'll be talking about leadership versus management. There's a manager on one side and there's a leader on the other side. We're not just going to be talking about how this works in theory, but these women are going to bring their experience on board, just like what Dayo and Viola did today. They're going to be bringing their experiences on board, and they're going to be telling us exactly how we can spot the difference and how we can make a difference. It's been your girl, Adeline Sede Kamga, and it's always amazing for me to host these sessions and for me to just say, you're always here. Thank you so much, Mercy. Thank you. For me to just say, it's always a pleasure to have you here. Oh, Ara, thank you. Thank you, darling. Truly appreciate it. Now I got to go. Emotional intelligence this week. Next week, manager versus leader. What's the difference? I'm going to love you. I'm going to leave you. It's Adeline Sedekamga, founder of Corporate Women in Leadership, Fab-Afrique Media Group. Thank you, Ashu, for putting this together. Thank you. I can never forget to thank you. Thank you, Team Fab-Afrique, for always putting it together. So let's go on this 15 seconds and I'm off. Bye now.